friends, excellencies, honorable delegates, salam. In my capacity as UN independent expert on a democratic and equitable international order, as former secretary of the UN Human Rights Committee and chief of the Petitions Department at the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, as professor of law in Geneva, and as a human being, I have long felt solidarity and compassion with the Mujahedin for your cause, for the Iranian people, for the 10-point plan of Madame Rajavi. I have spoken in the Place des Nations in front of the Palais des Nations in Geneva, inside events at the Human Rights Council, and spread the word about your cause and about the inquiry into the 1988 mass executions. I have condemned this monstrous murder of 120,000 Iranians over the last 40 years by the mullahs, including this infamous fatwa of 1988 and the accelerated murder and torture of so many, which has already been condemned by my colleagues, rapporteurs, and in this excellent book by Tahar Boumedra. Tahar Boumedra. Sorry about that, Tahar. He's right there. He's right there. And promise, Tahar, I'm giving this book in the hands of Madame Michelle Bachelet, our new High Commissioner for Human Rights. I will also give it because it's most important to involve the United Nations, to involve all the mechanisms of the United Nations. I mentioned the Human Rights Committee, for which I used to be the secretary, but there is the Committee Against Torture, and then there's a committee on the elimination of discrimination against women, and discrimination on the rights of the child, et cetera, et cetera. There are all these special procedures. My colleagues, the working group on arbitrary detention, Jose Guevara from Mexico, my colleague Agnes Calamar, she is the rapporteur on summary executions, my colleague on the working group on enforced disappearances, et cetera, et cetera. All of these are concerned because the violations are so massive, so enormous, and they constitute crimes against humanity. This has been determined not only by myself, but by my predecessors and colleagues, rapporteurs, Andres Aguilar, Reynaldo Paul, Maurice Capithorn, Christoph Heinz, Ahmed Shahid, the late and very much regretted Asma Jahangir, and condemned also by other experts, the QC, Geoffrey Robertson, by Amnesty International, by the Human Rights Watch, by the Federation of Fédération Internationale des Droits de l'Homme. Impunity, ladies and gentlemen, is not acceptable in the modern world. And even if the International Criminal Court has no jurisdiction strictu sensu, ratione temporis, because all of this happened earlier, I mean, the fatwa of '88 is outside the mandate of the ICC, which enters into force in 2002 with the Statute of Rome. They can, however, investigate the continuation of the genocide, the continuation of the crimes against humanity, and that is indeed a necessary educational work by the judicial authorities to have the prosecutor open an investigation into what I would call Iran's Katyn and Iran's Srebrenica. And so, going back to this, as I said, I will make sure that my colleagues take cognizance of not only this book, but all the documentation that I have picked up during this trip. I have learned a lot during this trip. I was shocked and saddened by the horrors exposed here at the museum. And I must say, I take a very strong impression from this meeting. Now, one word of caution. I mean, I wish you all success. I wish you all that very soon you'll be in Tehran again. On the other hand, the way there is a difficult one, and the change must come internally in Iran, because they're not just going to roll over. The mullahs are not going to roll over. I think that many sanctions are good and effective, but not all sanctions are good and effective. I think that I am somewhat of an expert in the field of sanctions, and I've written quite a bit about it. And there is a report already of 2002 of the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights and of the Human Rights Council, report HR 3-1933 of 2012, which is entitled Thematic Study of the Office on the Impact of Unilateral Coercive Measures. So arms embargo, yes. Targeting individuals, yes. But be very careful that ultimately the people in Iran are not starved to death. Sanctions sometimes can be like medieval sieges of towns, and in the end, like the siege of Leningrad, it cost 1 million deaths. So be very careful with that issue. So finally, I wish you perseverance, I wish you success, I wish you peace and happiness in Iran. God bless you.